Philippines has a deep, rich history, going back to the days of Ferdinand Magellan and the Spanish conquistadors. It was primarily the Spanish influence over the last 6 centuries that created the conditions for the Catholic Church to prosper so greatly. Today, the archipelago of the Philippines enjoys the dominant religious and moral influences of the Catholic Church. About 82% of the population is Catholic. This group of over 7,000 islands located in the South China Sea, where over 95 million people live, remains what most Western nations would consider a morally old-fashioned country. For example, homosexual marriages are illegal throughout the nation, and those that are part of the LGBTQ movement are not looked upon very favorably. Abortion, though it is performed by some medical facilities on occasion, currently it is not legal. Divorce is very difficult to obtain, and only about 1% of the population is awarded annulments by the Catholic Church. Even small children can roam the streets freely without adult supervision, with a minimum of risk in some areas of the islands. Recently, Jeff Reed and Bill Watson, members of our media team, had opportunity to visit the Philippines, and in particular the Church of God International's congregations in Manila and Naga City. Their mission was to personally reconnect with those in the ministry and meet and greet the laity that is involved with the work of God throughout the Philippines. A variety of events were scheduled during the 8 days that commenced with a warm and hearty welcome.
Welcome to the Republic of the Philippines, and greetings from the congregations of the Church of God, representing the Church of God International.
During the course of the visit, there were ministerial meetings that afforded everyone the opportunity to meet and greet one another, sharing some very good food, conversation, and wonderful fellowship. Sabbath services were conducted in Manila, where over 125 brethren and visitors attended to hear Mr. Jeff Reed present a message about the proof of the resurrection. In the afternoon, a public Bible study presentation was arranged for Mr. Bill Watson, where over 200 people attended to hear a message about the warnings from the prophets. It was estimated about 25% of those in attendance were brand new attendees. It was a very full day of activity, ending in some well-deserved rest. In the morning, Bill and Jeff left for the airport and caught a flight to travel 300 miles south to Naga City. Their primary hosts and guides were Elder Rene Corpaz and Joshua Mordino, who arranged another special Bible study for the brethren in the area, as well as inviting the public. At this special Sunday meeting, about 60 or so congregants attended to hear Mr. Bill Watson speak on the Christian destiny and mission of our lives. There was an enthusiastic Q&A session that went on for about another hour. So it appeared everyone thoroughly enjoyed themselves.
Aurora Silver Place Tubo.
What's that?
Small house.
Uh-huh.
But it's made of anahaw. Watchers there. Watchers there.
That evening, everyone visited the Lontok family and a number of the brethren that attend the Naga City congregation. It was a very enjoyable evening of music and a variety of all kinds of different foods. And of course, exceptional fellowship.
Hello! Hi, girls! How you doing, ladies?
It really gave Bill and Jeff an opportunity to become well acquainted with the cultural delicacies and of so many different types of culinary distinctions from the area. It was quite the night.
Everything in Chile.
Hot stuff, huh?
The next morning, everyone got up early to make the drive from Naga City back to the airport to return to Manila. Flying over the many islands for 300 miles from Naga City was quite the sight. The Philippines is both stunning and an amazing sprawling archipelago, covering over 117,000 square miles of the Pacific Ocean. At the Manila airport, Bill and Jeff met their new host and guide, Elder William Coe, who with the help of a driver took them to the city of Tagaytay, where one of the Feast of Tabernacles sites is located. It was about a 40-mile drive outside of Manila, meandering through traffic, and then finally coming out into the country. Upon their arrival, they met up with Mrs. Minchu Coe. They then proceeded to walk the area, looking out over the beautiful landscape and rolling terrain of the Taal volcano. Many don't realize, but there are about 37 volcanoes throughout this island nation, of which 18 remain active today. The Tagaytay site is located on Taal Lake, which happens to be a crater lake in the second most active volcano in the Philippines. The Taal volcano has seen recent seismic activity since 2004 and up through 2012, and is presently watched very closely. Its last major eruption was in September of 1965, resulting in about 100 fatalities. But for the present, about 250 to 300 people will enjoy the feast in Tagaytay every year, and is one of the most beautiful areas throughout the archipelago. During the visit to Manila, the schedule provided an opportunity to see where the home office was located. And from this location in the IBM building, the work of the CGI is conducted. It was quite impressive to notice just how much material, inventory, and work there was to do. Opportunity was also taken to sit down with elders Rene Corpaz and Eleno Melamedia. Both are employed full-time alongside the rest of the home office team. Afterward, Rene Corpaz took some time to explain the inner workings of the office and illustrated how they reproduce the Armor of God magazine and other church literature for local distribution throughout the Philippines.
So Rene, we've been talking about this magazine that you guys have developed over the years, a wonderful magazine called The Armor of God. But as I understand it, You had mentioned that the magazine, The Armor of God, is kind of an outgrowth of the old 20th century watch magazine. So with that being said, take us through a little bit of how it developed out of that.
Okay, so in the early years of the operation of the Church of God International here in the Philippines, the evangelistic office in particular, we did not start immediately with producing our own magazine. What we did was the headquarters office in Tyler would send us about 5 or 10 copies of the original, and we would reprint them here. And some of these magazines, as you can see, originally they have colored covers, but in those days, to have them printed in color is also quite expensive. So here comes the idea that since we are still broadcasting the Armor of God television program, why don't we produce a magazine that will complement the TV program?
Right.
And this is where we came up with the idea, as proposed by the pastor of the Metro Manila Church, Mr. Winston Ko. Why don't we come up with a magazine to support it? If you cannot produce it monthly, at least we have to produce it quarterly. But the important thing is that people will always have something to look forward to in addition to watching the TV program.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is a good idea, as mentioned before when we were in the other area, about the idea of using the Armor of God title for the magazine as it connects up with and links to the program, because they complement each other. It keeps the marketing brand on the program, and certainly minimizes any kind of confusion with the association, you know, of the product. So that, I have to hand it to you guys. I mean, that was really a good move and a good decision on your part to maintain the name Armor of God. But with respect to a magazine today, in light of the internet, do you still believe that there's value in a hard copy magazine? Does it still have the same value and associated with the program and the same kind of impact that you originally thought?
Yes, I believe so. For example, if you are holding a magazine, you can just browse through it, and you can constantly get back to it whenever you want. And when you are traveling, it's always available to you. Unlike today, where you have your tablets, you have your cell phones. But the problem with tablets and cell phones is that if you are reading it through the internet, especially here in the Philippines, the internet connection is a little not up to standards. And that is where the magazine comes in as a very, very good option.
So, after a few consecutive days of working through the schedule, Alex and Malu Sanchez served as guides for a day to show Bill and Jeff the sights, sounds, and the historical settings of downtown Manila. Throughout the day, they visited a variety of places. But it all started with a ride on a wagon pulled by a horse. It was quite a cozy arrangement. They were taken to a variety of forts that had cannons and arches. Moats and torture chambers, which were used by the Japanese during World War II, and originally built in many cases by the Spaniards back in the 16th and 17th centuries. While walking around, there were so many interesting items to look at and experience. Why, even a couple of up-and-coming entrepreneurs operating a mobile scavenging business stopped to negotiate.
Hi!
How are you?
How are you?
You good?
You good? Okay kayo? Okay?
Yes.
Nag-aaral kayo? Do you go to school?
Also,
Anong grade yun na? 2, grade 1. Anong ginagawa niyo dyan?
Binibenta po.
They are selling the bottles. Magkano kita nyo?
Pag ganito, 5 piso.
From that, they earn 5 pesos. For the day, isang araw. What do you do with the money? Ano ginagawa niyo sa pera nyo?
Binibili po ang pagkain.
Binibili ng pagkain. They buy food
They buy food.
from their
Is that right?
After being greeted by the Pope upon entry to a very quaint Italian restaurant, the adventurers sat down to a delicious lunch of pizza and pasta in an atmosphere of casual dining. As the day went on, the group traveled to the Intramurals, which is the old historical area of Manila. It was there they visited the Jose Rizal Shrine to view the historical information and events surrounding Senor Jose Rizal, who is credited with inspiring the Philippines Revolution by his writings, which resulted in his execution. It was quite a full day of walking, riding, visiting forts, and driving. When it was all said and done, returning back to the hotel was a welcome sight after such an active time. During this trip, arrangements were made to interview as many of the ordained elders that were available. The better part of an afternoon, up until the evening, each one was invited to tell their story, one by one.
What was your background previous to coming into Church of God International?
Since birth, I was a Roman Catholic.
Yeah, because previously I was associated with the Roman Catholic Church.
When I was a baby, I was baptized in a Catholic church.
I grew up in a Catholic environment, as I said earlier, and I studied in a Catholic church. I was not very serious in the doctrines of the church, actually. Because I was born a Catholic, I grew up as a Catholic.
Boy, all you guys have been associated with the Roman Catholic Church, but I guess it makes that the most sense.
It's a Catholic country, you know. We're 80% Roman Catholics here. Okay, so at that time, you know, the Catholics still had a lot of influence. You know, so if you're enrolled to a Catholic school or so on and so forth, they would ask for a baptismal certificate. So it's by nature that you go through that that process. Okay, and I was educated in a Protestant school. You know, so at a very young age, me and my brothers, you know, William and Walter.
Protestant, more Protestant. Oh, yeah, Protestant. Okay, so you were Protestant. What was your original exposure that made you finally become interested in the church?
Tomorrow's Word, What It Will Be Like. Oh. That was the booklet that gave me interest.
And what really made me interested were the two booklets. Okay, one is the Beast of the Revelation, and the second one is what is the mark of the beast.
The topic was about Christmas being of pagan origin. So he got so curious, he requested for the publication, and the publication came on a regular basis. And we were very young then. We were basically, you know, young teenagers.
And we were about in our high school days.
Mm-hmm.
So my father and my uncle, they used to subscribe to Plain Truth magazine. So from time to time, they will discuss with us the messages or the doctrine that they have read in the magazine. So we were quite interested. And sometimes I will go and debate with my religion teacher at that time. So I don't have high grades in my religion class.
Because you didn't say what they wanted you to say.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it's about this kingdom of God.
Kingdom of God?
The gospel of the kingdom of God, which we know it's something about the good news that Christ brought here. and then gave us opportunity to be part of that.
A booklet that I read in high school, the Ten Commandments, and there are two things there that really caught my attention. One is on idolatry, and the other one is on the Sabbath. Those are the two things that really, let's say, shook me up a little bit.
So with that being said, in that you were, brought to the truth through these two commandments of the Ten Commandments that really stuck out based on the contrast that you recognized, comparing it with the Catholic Church, your upbringing. What specifically led you to the Church of God International?
There was this introduction of a teaching, especially on Peter, where Peter is the head of the 12, and that based on that understanding, whatever it is that Peter says, his decisions would stick. At that time, in the Worldwide Church of God, there has also become an introduction that whatever it is, it began with Mr. Herbert Armstrong. Whatever Mr. Herbert Armstrong says has to be followed, and it continued with Mr. Joseph T. Katz.
And slowly, it seems to be watered down. One of which is the primacy of Peter. At that time, in the Worldwide Church, we had this what we call advanced leadership training. Most of the evangelists came here, like one of which is Mr. Dan Blackwell, if you remember him. Mm-hmm. And then he teaches us that he expound on the Acts 15. Acts 15 talks about, he tells us that Acts 15 is the proof that Peter was the prime apostle. And I tend to disagree and I kept reading this particular chapter, and you will note, I noticed that it was James who made the decision.
There was that policy of shunning, trying to monitor closely people, and they have that suspicion, perceived suspicion that I have some close association with Mr. Merto. And so they have this close monitoring of my movements.
I came into the church, because of one thing, which is, of course, we all believe that Jesus Christ is the head of the church. So for me, an organization, or personality, not important to me. For me, it's the truth. Okay. Along the way, we know what happened. You have, doctrinal changes. You have, of course, the changes was little by little, until eventually they had a wholesale, change. Initially, it was retail, piece by piece, nature of God, and then family versus Trinity, piece by piece it went away, right? And eventually it went on wholesale. They changed the covenant. They said the old covenant is gone, now we're in the new covenant. So they took out the Ten Commandments, including the Sabbaths.
And that was your thing.
And that was it. Maybe this is a little bit too far.
Because at that time, my parents and my siblings were already attending the Worldwide Church of God worship services. They normally do it in the afternoon. So I decided to join them in 1991, around that time. Anyway, I will normally go in, went in late. And there are one or two speakers there, they have a soothing voice. So that was, after a good lunch, it's a good time to sleep. So most of the time I was half asleep. Then one day...
Now your brother Winston told us Walter was also a sleeper.
Yes, both of us. We would have a nice sleep there. Okay, so then one day, my brother Walter told me, William, I found a new church. The speaker is great, really good. You won't fall asleep there, I guarantee you. Say, are you sure? Yeah, okay, let's go.
So when did you get ordained?
I got ordained after my dad passed away. I got ordained.
And what
Okay,
year
that
was
was
that?
in 1998.
And so when were you ordained?
2005.
I was ordained in September of 1985.
I was ordained along with William and Ellie. We were ordained Feast of Tabernacles of year 2005.
I was ordained in 1998 along with Mr. Winston Ko, who is now the pastor of the Manila Manila Church, about Feast of Tabernacles. Feast of Tabernacles of 1998.
I was not really interested in the service of the church because when Winston asked me to join and be ordained, my reason is that we can always do our work without even getting ordained. But then, you know, I happened to be. There was a point where I cannot refuse already, so you know. But I said that this is a very good job to retire. The ministry is a good job for retirees. Do you believe that?
No.
No.
It's actually more work than a barrel of monkeys. And you're pulling my leg.
Anyway, this will be cut,
Yeah. So how many congregations do you serve personally?
Personally, I serve Manila, okay, and you know, and the Alabang Church, you know. So.
And where is that one?
Well, Manila, this is a national capital region, okay. So this is the commercial, economic, political center. So this is where we are, and Alabang is around 22 kilometers south of Manila.
What groups do you serve, Bill?
Manila Church.
Primarily the Manila
From time
Church.
to time, I also go to Alabang Church and Malolos Church. Maybe once a month.
So you travel a little bit as well?
Yes.
In Iloilo, actually, it's just one congregation we have there, and it's a fellowship group of 35, 40 people, plus minus. And we're meeting there regularly. First Sabbath is intended for Bible study. We are discussing these topics that is being given by Manila for us to discuss for the people there.
Here in the Church of God in the Philippines, I could say I am taking care of at least two churches. One is Naga City, and the other one is in Masbate. But I am also being asked from time to time to visit other churches in the Visayas and in the Mindanao areas, especially when the ministers who are assigned in the area also have to visit other churches. We kind of move around a lot, visiting different churches. But on a regular basis, I attend to the needs of the Naga City Church and the Masbate Church.
I serve Mindanao right now, and much as we are trying to, you know, we cannot really say that I fully serve the church in Lanao del Norte, which is Maranding, because Rene and all of us, you know, sort of round robin, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But most likely I serve that area because in the first place I speak their language.
Down in Mindanao.
Yes, in Mindanao, and there are two places in Mindanao that we have congregations.
How many?
Two.
Two.
One is in Lanao del Norte. It's in Barangay Maranding, Lanao del Norte. The other one is in Kiara, Don Carlos, Bukidnon.
So right now, I am pastoring at least two local churches. One is in Malolos City, Bulacan. Okay, Bulacan is the nearest province to Metro Manila when you're going to the north side. Okay, it's only around 1 to 1.5 hours drive from my place in Quezon City, and that's already through along the highway. And we are about 25 to 30. It's a little flock, and it's a relatively young and little and new local church for attending around 25 to 30 only. In Sagay, let's say for example in Sagay, when you get through the airport, you have to travel also for another 1.5 to 2 hours by bus.
These are really remote places then.
Yes, very remote.
How far is that one from Manila?
Oh, that's in Visayas region, very far.
So how many kilometers?
I have no idea how many kilometers, but by plane is around 1 hour and 15 to 20 minutes.
So it's an over 1 hour airplane?
Yes.
And then
and
a
2
bus?
hours bus.
Oh, wow. Because there's no airport where you're going.
Yeah. There's no
wow,
airport.
that is really, so that's an all-day event. You stay overnight and then you come home the following day?
No, most of the time I have to come back at night because the following day I have a work already.
You have work.
Yeah,
so there's an airplane that leaves
yes, at night.
At night.
Late night flight around 8 or 9 in the evening.
And how often do you do that?
So
monthly?
when I go there, Bill, I wake up very early because the flight is around almost 5 in the morning. I have to wake up 2 in the morning, okay, and have to be at the airport at least 1 to 1.5 hours before the flight. And the flight back at night is around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. If there was no delayed in the flight, I will be at home, luckily. If there was no delayed in the flight and there was no traffic, I will be at home. If the flight is 9 in the evening, I will be at home around 12 midnight.
And you left at what time?
2 a.m.
Wow.
We want more people to be involved in the work. Okay. And in our case, we are few ministers. We are around 6 ministers here in
yeah, that's what I understand.
Yeah.
I thought for some reason in my mind I had it pictured 7 or 8.
We have assistant pastors. We have 2 assistant pastors, one for the Malolo Church and one for the Alabang Church.
By when you say pastors, you mean by function, not by ordination.
I think they were ordained. They were ordained also as.
Well, how many are credentialed here with CGI credentials? The 6?
I think it would be 8.
8.
Yeah.
That's what I
they
thought.
should have that. Yeah, they should have the number because we also gave credentials to our assistant pastors.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So yeah, in terms of yeah, I can probably say that we
I mean, if they're carrying credentials, they're elders.
Yes. Yeah, and they take care of because we travel. Rene, Eli.
Yeah.
Regularly, they live in the south, so they would congregate with the Alabang Church. But very often they're out. Okay, and I visit the church once every month, so we decided to have an assistant pastor there, and which now is a good thing because it's now helping in our provincial branches, provincial congregations. So he's now as well traveling, so.
So you're spreading the burden.
Yeah, spreading the word. Yeah. But in our case is that, I think we've been blessed, the Philippine Church, with a group of, good ministers. As you said, in fact, in most of the items we think as one. So
yeah.
And as the scripture said, one faith, one hope, one baptism.
One work, one mission.
One mission, one vision.
That's right.
And that's
like the 3 Musketeers or the 8 Musketeers in this case. One for all and all for one.
Yes, yeah. That's why we, our meet. If there's any need for a meeting, it's fast. We just call each other.
Yeah.
Over a cup of coffee.
And with technology today, you can Skype.
Right.
You can go to meeting and have a telephone conversation. We use it all the time.
Yeah. But we love to have coffee. together. You know, when the opportunity.
Sure, absolutely.
That's
Well,
right.
Winston, it's been a pleasure. I really thank you for taking this time. Again, thank you for your service and your dedication, as I've been also thanking all of the guys, because you guys are doing a noble work here, and I know it's very beneficial to God's people. So keep up the good work, and
We
thank you very much.
We thank you too, because you are our inspiration.
Well, that's humbling. That's humbling, and we'll all take that to heart, and I'll take that back to the home office and spread the good news that you deeply appreciate all of us.
Thank you, and God bless.
Same back. Back at you.
After the interviews, an enjoyable evening of hospitality was provided for fellowshipping and sharing time, food, and drinks with each other one final time. It was a great opportunity once again to meet and greet all of the new friends that were made during this visit. There was a lot of discussion about the church and excitement that was felt as the events were reviewed from the last 8 days. In addition, an informal leadership meeting was conducted, which drew the attention of everyone and was enjoyed by all. It actually turned out to be a party meeting, with all attentively listening to the discussions and encouragement that was given to those in leadership roles, sacrificing and serving the brethren throughout the island. It seemed like the time went so fast that it was finished before it ever got started. But, like so much in life, all good things do come to pass, and the time to leave was upon Bill and Jeff.